So a couple concepts one real concept I want to talk about that got brought up today, just in two different applications. One of them is the sense of your reaction to a stimulus in your environment. And we're going to look at it from someone yelling, and then a situation where you're on the range and you're trying to shoot your gun, you're trying to do something specific, or you're just trying to get comfortable with the gun and you hear other gunshots around you and how that affects you. So we'll talk about both of those. First one, we've been seeing this in class for quite a while now, and we've been bringing it up to the attention of our students so they can recognize it too, because it's quite fascinating. But we'll have a line of students and we will be working on drawing from the holster. This is usually when we practice this. So we're working on drawing from the holster. Everybody has empty guns and we're just practicing the draw. Well, the person giving the commands, the range officer, the instructor, the trainer, whoever is saying gun, will change their voice, the tone of their voice, to simulate different things. So let's say you're on the line and the instructor yells, gun, just like as loud as they can, gun, just so you'll get after it. That is exactly what happens. You get all frantic, you grab the gun, you push it out as fast as you can, take the shot. It's very chaotic and full of tension. Then we'll play with that a little bit, different variations of yelling gun, and then we'll do a softer, or we'll go back and forth between loud and soft and asking a question like, gun, and change it up a little bit each time. You'll see a difference in the students, how they draw the gun. Every time. It does not fail. And so then we'll do that a few times and then bring attention to it. Because what that does is it shows you how primed you can get and how chaotic you can get and how emotional you can get just from the way someone yells a word. So imagine you are a concealed carrier and you're in a situation and someone is yelling, gun, he's got a gun, or oh my God, and they're freaking out, they're completely hysterical, they're yelling at you to do something, do this, do that, or aren't you gonna stop them, or whatever you can think of. They're yelling, the tone of their voice, their body language, everything's really big, and it's very exaggerated. I mean, just look at any chaotic scene and watch self-defense videos, active self-protection. Absolutely watch that channel. Watch some of those videos and see the hysterics that arise from encounters, because someone is yelling at the top of their lungs and it's just chaos. So imagine if you are the responder here and you are the one with the gun, and their level of chaos changes the way that you respond. That's not okay. We need to be in control of our own behavior and our own decisions, regardless of someone's, the way that they say something to us. We need to make objective decisions, not emotional decisions. And that's what that does. That excess tone of voice brings an attention, and it builds the stress. So our reaction it's much more frantic and panicky. So we have to be mindful of how others change our tendencies. Then, so that's always fascinating to see in class. So later on, I was working with the student that I had yesterday and the day before. If you watch the other video that I talked about, I don't remember what I labeled it, but it had something to do with, shooter with anxiety or struggling shooter or something like that. It was the one I just put out yesterday. And just a quick recap, student super nervous, came on, I don't know what day it is, came on one day with her two family members, seemed to be the most confident one there, shot 22, took one shot of 9mm at the end of the lesson, came back the next day by herself. The next day we started off pretty good, but then gradually she was getting more anxious, and she was having a hard time just pressing the trigger. We tried lots of different things to build some confidence with the gun. Finally landed on a laser gun, a SIRT pistol, S-I-R-T. She would pick that up, press the trigger a few times, set it back down, pick up the other gun, press it a few times, pick up the real gun, shoot it a few times, put it back down, put up the SIRT pistol again. So she would go back and forth to kind of build the confidence to actually take the shot. So it's kind of interesting. I'm not really sure if she's anxious about the noise, the recoil, or the tension. I think that she's getting tense about the tension, because she can feel the tension start to rise when she wants to press the trigger and she wants to move the gun and just get it over with. But because she knows that's incorrect, I feel like that tension building, she doesn't like that feeling, and I think that's what's stopping her. Of course, I'd love to psychoanalyze her, but she came to me for a shooting lesson. So, other than, persevering and trying different things, and by the way, she's freaking awesome at how much effort she put into this and how unwilling she was to give up. It was freaking awesome. And she's shooting well too. So, she's overcoming, and it's fantastic. So today when she came back, we were in a live bay, so there were already people shooting in the bay, and she was also there with her mom and her sister, who were there the first time with her. And I wasn't sure if this was going to be helpful or if it would hurt. And I don't know that it was really either or, but that's what my thoughts were at first was, okay, so if her mom and sister there, are they going to empower her with, motivation to push on, or is it going to create some sort of peer pressure environment, which not always a bad thing if you're just trying to empower you to move forward. Like, just because they're here watching, are you more willing to try the scary thing? Would that happen, or would they essentially enable the nerves and the anxiety? So I wasn't sure what to expect, so it was fine. And what I think actually happened was the daughter that was nervous rubbed off on the mom a little bit, because the mom seemed to struggle a little bit more today than she did the other day, with just the nerves of picking up the gun and shooting it and stuff. So I think after they had a big long talk, mom was like, yeah, I can see why that, obviously they're getting on the same page. They're talking about their experiences, and now mom comes back with a little bit higher level of anxiety. And it's all fine. So we went into a live bay, so there was already shooting happening, and we had 3 lanes next to each other, and I had to keep moving her between the lanes to try to get her away from other shooters in the bay, like just as far away as we could, because if you're right next to another shooter, especially if they're shooting a 9mm or higher, then you kind of get some concussive blow around the panel between you and from the muzzle blast. You get used to it over time, but for a new shooter who's already nervous, it's a lot. So I moved her around a little bit to try to help her, just push on, because I was just happy that she was shooting the gun. And her mom kept taking turns. Like, they'd go up and shoot a magazine each, and start with the laser gun and then switch to the real gun, and things like that. And so it was really awesome. So we were encountering this issue of other shooters in the bay, and she did not want to shoot her gun while there was other shooting going on. And I can reflect back on this myself, and even still sometimes as a higher level shooter, I can still but someone else's gunshots can make, it causes a reaction, because your brain doesn't like loud noises. So when we hear something like that, even if you've been conditioned to it, sometimes it still gets through. It's like, oh crap, so it'll flinch, or like, ooh, and just the timing gets thrown off a little bit. It's not a big deal, but the newer you are, the more that has an effect on you. And I remember it being quite a struggle to deal with that. So she would just wait in between magazines, things like that. But what I wanted to bring attention to was the fact that this is an outside entity making noise that is causing us to not be able to complete a task or complete it correctly, or building anxiety. And it's noise. So our brains don't like loud noises. That's real. But the goal is to be very mindful of what you're doing in the moment, so you can stay with yourself and fire your gun for what you need to do, and make your decisions, and take your shots, make your good hits, and not be influenced by outside noises or tone of voice or energy levels and all that stuff. So it's you have to remain in control of yourself, whether that's the physical world or whether that's the mental world. So we are highly influenced by external things. And I'm not saying that there's a magic way of just turning it all off, because there's not. You can be primed so easily. There's all kinds of ways to. I said the word prime, but that's a little bit different of a topic. But in the moment, there's all kinds of things that can get in our head to cause more chaos. One other thing, for example, we talked about today is, when you're working on multiple skills, I think we talked about this yesterday too, but we're working on multiple skills. If you just learned how to build your grip, and you pick up the gun, you build your grip, you repeat that a couple times, and then 10 rounds later, I'm introducing a new topic to you, like how to reload your gun, or how to clear malfunction, or how to draw from a holster. That's a good example, drawing from a holster. You learn your grip, and then you go to draw your gun from the holster, and you haven't established your grip well yet. So that's not even committed to the subconscious yet. So when you go to draw your gun, you're incorporating another new skill that you need to learn, and you still are thinking about the grip process. So when you incorporate a new technique, if the first one's not down pat to the subconscious, to where you can replicate it without thinking about it, if you're still thinking about it and still have to adjust your hands and everything, then the next skill that you add is going to throw that off a little bit. And that's a tricky way to learn. So we do our best to try to avoid that, but there's only so much we can do with a 5-hour class, or in this case, the 16-hour class, where we go through so many concepts in 16 hours based off this curriculum we have. So it's tough to learn, and it's tough to be present and be mindful of what you're doing, especially when you got a gun in your hand and there's loud noises and all kinds of stuff getting in your brain. So take the opportunity to be aware of what's happening, be aware of your gun, be aware of you using it, and try to take in the outside for just what it is objectively. Try not to add the emotions that arise from loud noises or panic from other people. That's about all I got. So, y'all have a great rest of your day.